In this unit, we're going to be working with perimeter, area, volume, and temperature. In this lesson, we're going to look primarily at converting between Celsius and Fahrenheit. Alright, hi everybody. In this lesson, we're going to look at temperature conversions. So, just like with the units of measurement here in terms of like linear measurements here, meters, feet, and so on, there are two systems for temperature measurements as well. We can use the metric system, which uses the Celsius scale, or the imperial system, which uses the Fahrenheit scale. Around where I live, we typically use the Celsius scale, but there's still a number of people that are using the Fahrenheit scale. So it's quite convenient to be able to move back and forth between the two systems here. So what you want to do is you want to choose the formula that gives you the unit you're converting into. So this will be on your formula sheet, but just to write this here, if you wanted to convert Celsius into Fahrenheit, that would be 9/5 of the Celsius temperature plus 32. If you were going to convert into the metric unit, okay, you would take 5/9 of the Fahrenheit temperature minus 32. And notice the presence of the parentheses here and the lack of it up here in this first one. So you're just going to choose whichever one converts it into the units you're looking for. But it's a fairly simple calculation. I mean, granted, the fraction there, it could have been nicer. But I mean, this is just the way the numbers work out here. So anyway, let's take a look at some examples. Okay, so in this question we're asked to convert the temperatures into Celsius. So we know the formula we're going to use here is Celsius is going to equal 5/9 the Fahrenheit measurement minus 32. So this will be 5/9 in this particular case here, 5/9, 62 degrees minus 32 degrees. Okay, and so on my calculator here, pull this over, it'll be 5 divided by 9 multiplied by, in brackets, 62 minus 32. And the answer is 16.7 degrees Celsius. Okay, here, same formula. Okay, so this is going to be 5/9, this time 350 degrees minus 32 degrees. Okay, and then we go back to the calculator there. And so 5 divided by 9, and then 350 minus 32. Okay, and if you're wondering about the 32 here, this is 32 degrees Fahrenheit is the same as 0 degrees Celsius. So that's kind of why we're using the 32 now. That's why that number shows up. It's kind of the zero level for the Celsius scale. Just makes for that formula a little bit easier to work with. So here we go. This one's going to be 176.7 degrees Celsius. And then finally over here, this will be 5/9 of 18 degrees minus 32 degrees. Now, take a quick look at this one. Notice that in this case here, the 18 minus the 32, we're going to get a negative number there, right? Because we're subtracting a larger number from a smaller number. But that's okay. We're totally comfortable that we know that you can get temperatures that drop below the zero on both scales there. So negative 7.8 degrees Celsius. Now, other way around. Let's convert these into Fahrenheit. And so the Fahrenheit, okay, temperature here is going to be 9/5 of the Celsius temperature plus 32. So in this case, it's going to be 9/5 of 67 degrees plus 32. Okay? And so 9 divided by 5 of 67 plus 32. And we get 152.6. Oh, what's it? 152.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Here, and again, no big surprise that we're dealing with a negative number here. It's going to be 9/5, negative 31 degrees. Now, it is important to include the negative in there when you're doing this. Okay, that negative means something important here. So it'll be 9 divided by 5, negative 31 plus 32. Actually, it wasn't that long ago that minus 31 was kind of the average temperature of the day here. And we get negative 23.8. Negative 23.8 degrees Fahrenheit. And then 100 degrees Celsius. And this is another important number here because this is the boiling point of water. Okay. So 9 divided by 5, 100 plus 32, and we get a nice 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Awesome. Let's look at another one here. Which is hotter? A pottery kiln that has a maximum temperature of 1900 degrees Fahrenheit, or one that has a maximum temperature of 1100 degrees Celsius? Well, it doesn't really matter how we approach this here. We just got to change one of the units into the other one here. Because the first one that I saw here was the 1900 degrees Fahrenheit, let's convert that one into Celsius. So that's going to be 5/9 of that, whoops, sorry, you can't see that, Fahrenheit measure minus 32. So this is going to be 5/9 of the 1900 minus 32. Okay, we just go to the calculator. 5 divided by 9, 1900 minus 32, and we get 1037.8 degrees Celsius. Okay, so clearly the second one is hotter. Good. All right. One other thing you're going to be asked about in terms of temperature, will be talking about changes in temperature. So sometimes you're asked to determine the change in the temperature, which means you want to know, first of all, how many degrees did it change by, and in what direction? Like, did it get warmer or did it get colder here? Okay. So to determine the total degrees in the change here, basically, the best way to do this is just think about it as like a number line. Okay, because the numbers work out the same, whether you're talking about them in terms of degrees Celsius, degrees Fahrenheit here, or just looking at the numbers on a number line. So if you're going to go from negative 3 degrees Celsius to 2 degrees Celsius, well, notice that the number got larger. And in terms of temperature, when the number gets larger, it's getting warmer. So we're going from a smaller number to a larger number. Now, don't get thrown off by the fact that there's a 3 there. There's a negative in front, which means that that number is further to the left on the number line, and that makes it smaller. Okay, it's not uncommon for people just to focus on the 3 and think that that's a larger number. It just is. And it's just something where you might not even be thinking about it right clearly in that moment there, and you get a little bit confused. So just make sure that you identify the negative sign there. You see that, recognize that means it's going to be to the left, so that number is smaller. Okay, and so we're asking basically how many jumps do I got to go from negative 3 to 2 here. And you can look at it at the number line, you can count that out. Okay, another way to do that is you might take the larger, okay, the warmer value, 2 degrees Celsius, and subtract the cooler one. And 2 minus negative 3, again, is going to be 5 degrees Celsius, because when you subtract a negative, that's the same as addition there, right? And so there's a 5-degree change, and it's gotten warmer. So anyway, let's take a look at a couple of questions here, just to make sure that we're clear on this. Okay, so this question says, on a given day, the temperature in Calgary was 17 degrees Celsius. On the same day, it was negative 14 in Iqaluit. So what is the change in temperature from Calgary to Iqaluit? Okay, well, first of all, we know that it's going to get colder. It has gotten colder, okay, to go from 17 degrees Celsius to negative 14 degrees Celsius. Now, the question is, by how many degrees? Okay, well, what I can do here is take my warmer one, the 17 degrees Celsius, and let's subtract the cooler one, just to see the difference between these two. So on my calculator, if you're not comfortable with the arithmetic here, that's fine. But let's make sure that we're using the appropriate signs so that you don't miss anything. We're going to do subtraction here, and subtracting the negative. And we've got a 31 degrees Celsius change here. So it is 31 degrees Celsius colder in Iqaluit. Now, what is the change in temperature from Iqaluit to Calgary? Okay, well, to go from the minus 14 to positive 17, well, it's clearly gotten warmer, okay, by the same amount. Okay, all we've done here is change direction, so it's warmer by 31 degrees Celsius.